Hello, everybody, and welcome on into Sidelines, presented by Visit Potter Tioga. I'm Drew Patrick. On today's show, we review the PSAC Championships of Track and Field, plus we talk about the opening weekend for softball. Welcome back to Sidelines. Let's talk track and field as we had a championship weekend, and joining me here at the desk, we have two members of the women's track and field team, Skylar Brown, Abigail Taylor. Thank you both so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having us again.
So, an exciting weekend. Let's jump right into it. Some school records sitting at this desk. Let's start there. Let's start with you, Abby. I joked with you right afterwards, it's always that last jump, and it was once again that last jump broke the school record on the first jump, but then re-broke it on the last. Talk me through it.
So basically, like the first jump, coach was like telling me the whole time, you need to get a good first jump, because I mean, it really does set the tone. And then for the rest of them, I was kind of feeling a little bit sluggish. I was like, oh no, I'm feeling a little sluggish. And then I took a couple of sprints, and the last one, I knew that was it. And the girl right in front of me had just beat my jump, so I would have been in like 4th place at that time. So I just went with all that I had, and it worked out.
Absolutely, it worked out. And we'll get back to the shiny piece of jewelry you got in a bit. Skylar, that 60, break it on the first day, re-break it on the second day. Talk me through that.
Yeah, I just had to go out there and execute, get my nerves right. My nerves the first day were a little bit worse, so I just had to really calm my mind and just focus. Sometimes I will just run and forget everything that I need to actually do, but I was intent on just working on the things I need to work on, and it worked out.
And that 60 was insane. Like the top 5, all provisional marks, which is absolutely ridiculous. You run a 7.60, which is the 31st fastest human being in Division II, which is great. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
But just in a race that's fast and everyone's going out, how much does it do? Are you kind of the athlete who loves that kind of pressure, that kind of atmosphere that you know it's going to be a really good race?
Yeah, I think I almost need it. I think in a lot of the races where I didn't have much competition, it's harder, to PR, to run fast, but I just remember the intensity in the arena, and I was like, let's go, it's time.
Got real quiet
right
before that.
So quiet.
Yeah, silent.
It was silent.
So, and a provisional mark. I think that's the part we've jumped over a couple of times. How does that feel to be the first female sprinter in Mansfield history to get a provisional mark?
It feels good. I'm not easily satisfied, so it was hurt. I was hurt yesterday, but it feels good. I'm learning to take the wins as they come, so I'm proud of myself. And that's what I wanted to do, so I did it. So it feels good.
And then, Abigail, let's go back to that jewelry that I mentioned earlier. Second place finish, another silver medal at the indoor championship. That had to have felt great.
It did. It felt great, just to defend what I did last year. First place would have been awesome, but you know what? I'm super happy and proud that I ended up there. So.
And it was a tough field, really a field that could challenge. You said you dropped down to 4th there because it was so tight at one point. Same question that I asked Skylar, having that competition that is really good, how much do you feel that helps you in that?
I'm kind of the same way as you. Honestly, if I don't have competition around me, it can be hard to do the best that you can do. So I feel like it just really helps, and I always that's what I want, is to have really good competition.
That pressure performers, both of you, it's fantastic, honestly. So how do you use the momentum of the indoor season? Obviously, these first 2 weeks of rest, lots of rest these weeks, but how do you use the momentum going into the outdoor season?
I'll go first.
Sure. Okay. Well, I think you just kind of have to build on what you just did. If that makes sense? Because like no one in indoor season is perfect because it's kind of just like a warm up almost is like how I think of it. And that's why like the provisional marks are so much higher for outdoor than they are for indoor, at least for like jumps. I think for sprints, right, they're lower.
I have no idea.
Oh.
I'm not there yet.
But like you just have to carry what you've learned in indoor and build even further upon it.
For me, you either win or you learn. So I'm just gonna take the disappointment of missing third by just a little bit and just let it drive me for outdoor. I need to work on. I think I'll be able to execute and have a good season.
Fourth place is nothing to scoff at, though.
No,
like,
it's
I mean,
not.
a provisional mark too. But yeah,
Yeah.
you were being right there. So you talk
Yeah.
about kind of that chip on the shoulder. Second place, that chip on your shoulder. Like, how do you then use that motivation, that chip on your shoulder mentality to really kind of go out and surprise, not only just surprise, but make people circle your name on a list, that kind of thing?
I think anticipating the competition for outdoors, I'm really excited. Like to race all those girls, they're all excellent, and like it was a privilege to be able to line up like next to all of them and really do that. I remember like my dad told me that the announcer was like, "There's gonna be fire coming off the track, ladies and gentlemen," and it just was like funny. It's just like we're all like talented athletes, so I'm excited to like meet them again and outdoor and just give it everything that I have.
Honestly, I feel the exact same way. I think like I really look forward to going to conferences just because it's like I see a bunch of people that I've talked to and that because you really do get to know the people that you're around. And even though it's like really fierce competition, it's also just that's another thing that just motivates me is like just knowing these people and being like, okay, I'm ready to go right now, So yeah, it's just motivating, even just being in that atmosphere.
I feel like your events kind of have a different mentality in that because I could see
I don't
this
feel
being
that
harsh
way
and
about
like,
my I don't like, and it's not in a bad way, but
No,
we're
yeah.
not like before at least like we're not like hi how you doing maybe after congratulations like we do that especially when it gets like close, but like before that like no.
Oh yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
like
and for us it's like before we go and like in the middle of our jumps we'll be like, hey, what's going on?
I guess the difference too, like the great thing about that, like the difference is you're all at the same time. You have the same amount of time to work with. You're all going. You at least have some time to have that camaraderie in between. There is no in between.
No, there's no in between. It's before and after. But I like it that way. Everybody has, or at least at conferences, they have the same intensity level. You kind of have to get to that point. So that's why you can feel the tension in the room. There's a lot of it.
So, I mean, I wish for an event you guys got to like see each other compete. You seem to always be going at the same time. But to kind of like translate that into that championship atmosphere, that cheering for one another. Your race just ended, but you're looking back and seeing how Sean is going to do right behind you, that kind of thing. Like, how good does that feel like to have that kind of team bond? Because sometimes you feel so individualized in track and field just because of the nature of it, but to have that team aspect with it.
Oh, I think it feels great. Like she went out there and got silver, and you would think it was me. I was so excited. I was getting text updates because I couldn't physically watch, like before and after, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I texted her right before I had gone for the 2, and I was like, I'm so proud of you. And like it just is like such a great feeling to see the people that like you know and love, and like they work so hard, and you're there every day, in and out. So like to see her actually like go there and handle business was like awesome. It's the best.
And like she said it, like you see these people every single day work so hard, and then you get to watch them like do their thing and really succeed. And for you, I was literally at the pit, at the end of the pit, and I saw her down there, and I was screaming. I know you couldn't hear me. I was screaming so loud, and like my voice was literally like gone. And like you came through, and I already told you this, but there was a girl in the first lane, and I stepped out in front of her like at the end after she finished. And she was still like kind of running a little bit. And she was like, because like I was trying to get to you, like being like, gotcha.
See, I love that though. Like honestly, that's brilliant. So honestly, what a weekend. Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Of course.
And Sidelines continues after this. Don't go anywhere.
It's all part of Mother Nature's perfect blend, the keystone of the Keystone State. Visit Potter Tioga, a 2-county scenic outdoor haven conveniently located, yet worlds apart. A place where you can kick back, unwind, and forget about the pressures of life. Disconnect and reconnect with your friends, family, or even yourself while surrounded by nature's beauty. So start planning your adventures today at visitpottertioga.com.
Welcome back to Sidelines. Let's continue to talk track and field. As joining me here at the desk, we have Sean Ringgold. Sean, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk the indoor conference championships. A big weekend for you. Let's start with on Saturday, and let's start on that 60, and let's start on re-breaking your own school record. That had to feel good. What clicked in that race?
Everything kind of just came together. I executed my race appropriately. You know, it's kind of been an up and down battle for the indoor season. I was facing through a couple of injuries. Didn't know how the season was going to end, so just being able to successfully complete the 60 in prelims and break my own record was a great feeling.
Turning that into the next day, a fifth place finish in it. Obviously not where you wanted, but still a podium finish. What can you take away from the indoor season, which is, we talked about it, the tighter turns, not to the 60, but some of the challenges and dealing with injury, but to finish fifth after going through the trials and tribulations of this year, that had to have felt good.
Yeah, indoor is always a hard season for us to, really get around to, considering that we're always on treadmills. It's so cold, we can't get outside. The 200, I struggle with running the turns because I'm such a big body. But I'll definitely take a fifth place finish for my final indoor season. Yes, it's bittersweet because it's not exactly where I wanted to be. But just being able to finish the season as a whole is a plus for me.
I was going to say, we talk about those trials and tribulations and some of the things that really we've had to deal with this year. At the beginning of the year, we've talked that you were like the coach of the team. You're an RA, you work for us, you have a million hats on, but to be able to juggle all that things. What is the key to be able to juggle all those things? Because it's definitely a challenge that first semester going into this semester where you have now you're in season, but how do you manage all of that?
Well, I just started taking moments to myself in between, whether it's practice, the RA role, my studies and classes. You got to find a moment to yourself and take a little mental health break to keep yourself together. If you don't, you're kind of going to fall apart with all the stresses on your back.
And how have you tried to then relay that to some of as a captain, as a leader of this team, to kind of relay it in that leadership role?
Tell people to just take moments to yourself, whether it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, do something that you actually enjoy just to take your mind off of everything else. Because when we're in season, it's nothing but just constant going and going and going. The same thing with classes and whatever else you have going on the side. It's nonstop.
Oh yeah, always constantly moving. Let's move on to that Sunday quickly. The 4x4, we talked about the finals for the 60, but then the 4x4 running with that group. What did you see in that race? It was tough because it was only a two-person leg or two-team leg that you guys were in, but walk me through your leg of the 4x4.
My leg of the 4x4, I was getting the baton from Aaron. I just had to reel him in because he was giving everything that he had. I had to give everything that I have, and plus that was my first 400 of the season. So the last time I ran that was the 400 was outdoor PSAC. So just being able to do that was still fun, and that also was the same 4x4 that we ran at outdoor PSAC. So just being able to run one more time indoor with them was really exciting.
I was going to say that's a really interesting point too. It was the same group that finished 8th outdoor, finished 8th this year indoor, getting on the podium with that same group a second time had to feel good.
Yeah, definitely. Had to do it one more time with my guys.
And so what can you take here from this indoor season kind of as momentum going forward towards the outdoor?
Don't take my foot off the gas. We can't stop where we ended on indoor and just be like, okay, I'm content. No, we have to go back and working the entire month until the first meet. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be very difficult. It's gonna break you down, but it's definitely going to build you up by the time we get ready to have our season opener for outdoor, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, a couple weeks here before that season opener, kind of the recovery time right now. What is kind of your focus in that time before the outdoor season really gets into a rhythm?
Stay healthy, de-stress, just take a break really quick and just recuperate and get ready for a long outdoor season.
So I'll have that roll right into the outdoor of what are your goals and expectations for the outdoor season this year?
So I believe we're going to focus on the 1 and the 2 the same way we did for indoor. It'll be definitely a lot better considering the turns. I won't have to worry about the 2. And I build up speed over time, so the 100 is going to be a lot better for me. But we are going to get some training in the 400, so I will make a return to that outdoor.
Yeah, that should be a fun season awaits. Thank you so much for taking the time and stopping by, Sean.
Thanks for having me.
And Sidelines continues after this. Don't go anywhere.
Pride and passion drives the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. From 55 NCAA championship teams, 294 individual national champs, and counting. Who's next? Make the PSAC yours. PSAC Proud is winning in athletics and in the classroom. Over 3,100 PSAC student athletes are honored as scholar athletes. It's a perfect mix of athletics and academics. It's time to make the PSAC yours.
Welcome back to Sidelines. Let's continue to talk some track and field now. As joining me at the desk, we have Christian Tanner. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
So quite the exciting weekend for you as well. Let's start that Saturday, the DMR, that first leg of the DMR. Walk me through that, because it must have been fun leading at the end of that.
So we always talked with Coach, and he had brought up that saying the 1200 is one of the more important legs. They're all important, but if we can get the distance and get a lead off and give it to our 400 leg, then we don't have to worry about that leg trying to work around people, and it kind of gives that gap, and we can work with a lead within the first 3 legs. So then we don't have to really put so much pressure on the miler, So I guess the only way that we could have run it is you have to win your leg. That's the only way out of this thing. So the race plan was just to sit pretty right in that 3rd position and then move. And I guess coming into that second to last lap, the Shippensburg kid moved, and I made sure I covered the gap, and I went with him. And then when it was about 2:10 left and the bell was ringing, I said, well, I got to give Terrence a lead, so I gotta get moving. And then that's when I just dropped the hammer, I guess, and went for it.
Yeah, walk me through how does it feel to just take off like that and go zooming. We said before we got on that you were leaning so much that you may have hit one of the side poles there. But like walk me through that. What is the second gear you have to shift? Is that more physical or more mental, you think?
I think it's definitely more mental, in my mind at least. I know that the body will, the mind, whatever you decide, the body will follow for what you've decided. And when that was coming down that straightaway, coming to that last lap, and that's when I decided mentally, I was, okay, I'm done riding on your shoulder, I have to move. And it's basically like, okay, it's time to party, we got to go. And it's always that first few seconds right when you start to kick. It's like, I don't know, do I have this in me? Can I really get going? And then usually once I get out and around and I know somebody's chasing me, then I'm like, okay, I can really push now. I don't want you to catch me, so I'll go really, really hard. But yeah, it's definitely a mental thing to.
So you finish your leg, you're screaming for. Is that built on just sheer adrenaline at that point when you start cheering? Because you just exerted almost all you had there. and you were still screaming your head off for the rest of your teammates. That's got to be just adrenaline at that point, right?
Definitely. I mean, the backside of that straightaway with all the people, that was almost deafening. At one point, I was in the mid-race. It's like, wow, it's really loud in here. So that definitely helps quite a bit. And then knowing the possibility that we could have placed so high we were, and having a good enough gap and really putting a scare on the field and making other people in the crowd, wow, where'd Mansfield come from type of thing. But then, yeah, definitely a lot of the adrenaline, just wanting the rest of the guys on the team to push as well. And if I'm screaming, then I know they know I'm screaming for them, and just everything I got left. I did my part, I guess, and now I just want to give as much out as I can by cheering on.
So then, fifth place finish for the team. That had to feel good to get on the podium there for that. Rolling on to the next day, the 3K. First, the recovery of obviously a speed event, going to an event where you have to have a little more pacing in, even though it's a championship where really place matters more than time for this one. Is that a normal transition for you? Is that an easier transition for you feel?
I think that moving from a faster day into a slower day definitely it was an easier way to transition with recovery. I mean, first of all, as soon as that 1200 was done, it was all get off the legs, get a cool down in, and now you need to eat, get a lot of fluids in your replenish, because that's what we're going to be working recovery off. We had a lot of time for recovery. We had 26 hours, and then not so well with sleeping in the hotel, at least for me. So then it's just what can we do for that? And knowing that we would come into that 3K with a slower pace, then it kind of takes some pressure off. If it were up to me, I would have liked it just one single final. But when it comes in the case of you have two heats and it's one massive final, then you have to pay attention to, okay, hey, the first heat went out faster than what we're going through. And even though we were coming through really slow, I mean, I was looking over at Coach every time we came through the first little bit. I'm like, do I need to go faster? Do I need to stay the same type of thing? I'm watching the clock. I'm watching what the field's doing. It was easier mentally, I guess, to know that we were going slower, and I just had to hold on. But then I started fighting with a Sleeper Rock kid, and I got irritated fighting with him back and forth on the inside and the outside, him shoving me shoving him. And then right when I said, okay, I'm done fighting with you, I'm just going to pace off you, that's when that gap went. And it happened so quickly that I wasn't there to cover that gap, and that's when we started to break open. But
it was an interesting race too, because California obviously had the strategy of sending one kid just out and about to try and get people to chase him. How difficult, but when you see that someone's doing that strategy, what kind of mental fortitude do you have to stick to your pace, to not be like, oh, I'm going to follow him, even though, oh, wait, no, we can't. He's just going for it.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is, I mean, the most, I guess, innocent way to think of it is, well, he's wearing hip 11. So I don't think he's going to last it. But a lot of it is knowing the field and knowing how to race, and then just being around it so much that you know eventually he will make his way back. And even if he didn't, I know that the guys around me were going to work to get back up to him. And then I noticed that he had run the 5K previously the day before. So I knew he was on shot legs. So I guess it was just a matter of time before he'd come out. But, I mean, he lasted 10 laps on his own. And there was a gap at one point. I was like, oh, maybe we should start working together, guys. We need to reel him back in. I mean, but he still did really well just staying up with us. So I guess it's just knowing that hopefully eventually he will make his way back to it.
So another fifth place finish there. What can you use from this indoor season kind of as momentum and as a lift going into the outdoor?
I think taking stuff from indoor, I wasn't really happy with the 3K, so that's going to add more of a motivation to really push when we're looking for a 3K steeple for outdoor. Have a good possibility of getting the provisional mark for D2 Nationals and see if we can take that out. But at the same time, it brings confidence with the mile and the 1200 leg and then a few of the thousands that I did this season to say, okay, I have the strength over 1,000 to 1,200, and we're going to really focus on that 1,500, try to get a 3:45 right in that range, and then hit the provisional mark and hopefully be able to go to nationals on that. So knowing that I've done the work up to 1,200 meters on pace, right where we need to be. Now it's just another 300. Anybody can close in the 300, or that's just the start of the race, or the finish, and it'll take care of itself. So it definitely has its perks, having confidence come into those shorter distance that I feel confident and more comfortable in, and then having that negativity of the fuel of the negativity from the longer races not really going to plan, knowing that, hey, I'm willing to work on these strengths, I want to work on them, and kind of leads itself into a broad spectrum of training that we can undergo, that I'm ready to, if this is what we have to do, I'm ready for it, because I didn't do that well indoor, I want to prove it to outdoor. So I guess it's just confidence and ready to train.
Always good to have that chip on the shoulder, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Christian, thank you so much for taking the time and stopping by today.
Well, thank you, appreciate it.
And Sidelines continues after this. Don't you go anywhere. Welcome back to Sidelines. Let's talk softball, as this team opened up their season this past weekend. And let's talk to two of those athletes who helped lead to a sweep in the opener, with Danny Goff and Kayla Vonstein. Thank you both so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having us.
So let's jump right into it. First of all, how good did it feel to get on dirt and be able to get these games in?
It was really nice. We've been stuck in the gym for like this whole preseason, and like finally getting on the dirt was nice. We've been on the turf a little bit, so that helped out a lot, but the dirt is like a completely different playing field, so it's nice to get back out there.
Yeah, ground balls were way different on the dirt than the indoor gym.
Oh, absolutely. So this game gets moved from Saturday to Sunday, so a little bit of, and earlier too, for that. So what's the adjustment you guys have to make getting ready for that, to have your schedule kind of warped a little bit and much earlier game than expected?
Yeah, I think that it kind of helped us like shift into that mindset a little more, honestly. Like we had a little bit more time to think about it. We had a little bit more practice time, which always helps. So it really just let us like settle into the fact that like, hey, we're gonna be playing this weekend. We have to get into it.
No, yeah, totally. It was a big mental thing. Like having an extra day allowed us to be mentally ready more and be prepared.
I was gonna say weather-wise though this week, where it just didn't make sense at all. It was probably difficult there, but having the one day to prepare was probably really good. So let's jump right into the games. Chestnut Hill, the opponent, that first game, a shutout from you, Danny. Talk me through that game. What clicked?
So that game was really an interesting game because like I remember I was watching before when they were warming up, and they like had some good bats on their team. They were hitting some hard balls before. So the mindset going in was just be consistent and stick to mechanics and throw hard.
And hey, it led to a great performance there from you. Offensively, what was clicking?
Clicking, I was working more on like, instead of my mechanics, it was just I wanted to get up there and I wanted to hit the ball. Like I was like envisioning me hitting it in the gap or like me getting a base hit.
Hey, and it worked. Sitting at granted 2 games in, but sitting at 500 as a batting average has to feel good.
Hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah, hopefully it stays, absolutely. So the momentum of the first game, you get the shutout. How do you use that to jump right into the second game?
I think the momentum helped so much. Like that first game, our defense was like crazy and our offense was even better. Like to see everyone hit so well, it was like crazy. Like seeing Morgan like completely, she like flipped the switch and she hit so well, which was like great, created a huge momentum for the second game.
No, yeah, I agree. We all just built off each other and just kept going and going. And we didn't get like too cocky that we won, because I know we were all really excited, but we had to like stay calm. Remember, we had another game and we also had to win that game too.
So through this series and I guess leading on to the next, this upcoming week you have another non-conference, and then you kind of get the gauntlet of the spring break trip to come, where it's just constant games. What can you take away from these first couple, including the trip, if you want to add that on, to really kind of hone the technique, to get, what are your focuses on in these early non-conference games?
I think one of our main focuses is just like staying in game speed and being like consistent with our play. Since we haven't like played on dirt very much, like this is our huge experience to like get adjusted, get to know like all the newcomers, get to know how we play, and get like a real feel for that.
Yeah, I agree. It's very important to like get to know how each other play and how we are really focused in the game. Some people are different on their focus. Some people like to have fun. Some people are like very dialed in. It's important to know that.
Speaking of the new faces, there are a lot of new faces on this team, and as really kind of the people who've been here, who've really been able to set the tone. Granted, coming in during COVID, I'm sure wasn't great as your first year here, but like knowing that you've been here, you've seen a season under your belt. You've been here too, one of the seasons. You've been here going into, of course, your senior. How that leadership role and kind of to set the tone role for the newcomers. What is your kind of approach for that?
I think with a lot of our newcomers, they're very like mature. They like know the game. They have great attitudes, which like helps us upperclassmen out like so much. Like they're very just here. They want to play. They want to work hard, which makes everything even better.
No, yeah, a lot of them, they do look up to Danny a lot because Danny's like our leader. She's been here the longest. She knows everything, so we all really look up to her. And they also are really like, they want to learn. They're always asking questions. They always want to know what's going on, and it's really good.
That's got to feel good, being the leader for this squad. So let's kind of look forward to the season. Obviously, I don't want to look too far ahead, but what kind of were your goals and expectations coming into this season?
We just want improvement for our team. We've been in like this little pattern recently, and we just want to wipe that completely. We want to be in the moment, we want to work hard, and we want to just succeed.
Yeah, G's whole mindset this year is focusing on the process, so we're really big on the process.
Yeah, that's an easy thing to kind of get behind, but is it going to be a little hard too as a senior? This might be more like philosophical, but like that you might not see the overwhelming success that the process will be, but to be a key part of setting the tone for the process in the future, how kind of do you approach that?
It's very exciting actually, because just like going out and seeing these first two games and seeing how well like we're meshing together with like those like the first games on the dirt, it's like very exciting. I'm excited to see where things go this year, but like not only the years to come, like a lot of good for the program.
And the same thing, you might still be able to see some of that success having a couple more years, but like how exciting of a process is that?
It is very exciting. Like I saw Danny on the bus after the game, and I've never seen her so happy. It's just good because we're going to keep building off of it each year after each year and just keep growing.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to it. I know you both are too, and thank you so much for taking the time.
Of
Yes,
course,
thank you.
And Sidelines continues after this. Don't go anywhere. And that's going to do it for this show, folks. To stay up to date on all things Mansfield Athletics, head over to GoMounties.com. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week.